Welcome back to Piercing the Shroud podcast, a testimonial archive documenting firsthand experiences that challenge the rigid mainstream understanding of reality. Each episode focuses on the raw events of a single experience, when it happened, where it occurred, and what was perceived step by step with as much sensory detail as possible. Worldviews, theories, and interpretations are intentionally set aside so the experience can speak for itself. I'm your host, CJ Hazley, grounded and logical, yet I've had anomalous and mystical experiences that I cannot deny the reality of. From seeing UFOs and advanced technologies to psychic experiences like telepathy, precognition, psychokinesis, and more, I've seen firsthand that reality is much more complex than what we're conditioned to believe, and I'm not the only one. That's why my mission is to build an archive of firsthand testimony for curious minds, experiencers, and future researchers alike. These are real people sharing real experiences that don't fit the mainstream view of what's possible, and their stories deserve to be taken seriously and documented carefully. Welcome to Piercing the Shroud podcast. Let's dive in. Today we have my friend Joe. And Joe, how would you classify the experience you're going to share with us today?
Everyone, how's it going today? Um, yeah, I mean, the experience that I wanted to share was more of a meditational initiation of contact whenever it comes to off-planet extraterrestrial or, phenomenal within the phenomenon area or scope and field.
So you might even say human initiated extraterrestrial contact.
Yes, exactly. For anyone who is familiar with the CE-5 meditation, a cosmic consciousness type of meditation where, we reach out in the medium of consciousness, but through the technique of meditation and for world peace, and as a byproduct of creating and emitting so much love and so much acknowledgement essentially to these individuals. They show up sometimes, and it's really incredible to be able to witness that.
Thank you for coming on and being willing to share your experience.
Thanks for having me.
We'll step right into when this occurred. So, about like what year did this occur and how old were you?
Yeah, let's say this occurred in 2022. And it had me doing math, man. Uh, I'm 38 now, so essentially, in 22, was that 4 years or so? 4 years. So essentially, I was around 34 years old. And essentially getting into the experience, um, you know, we've been doing CE-5 contact meditation for some time now. I had started the group here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in 2018 is whenever we kind of started it, and we've continued to build it. So this was a out of town meditation overnight expedition that we were having, and we went down to southern New Mexico, little place called um, little place called Carrizozo, New Mexico, and we were there with one of our friends who has a ranch down there. So he was very open to us coming down, inviting the open sky with an open heart, and doing some meditation there. So we set up the event and went down. I believe it was around I want to say it was around early September, something like that. But essentially, we all had kind of came together, and it was also really awesome because we had a little bit of time to get to kind of know each other. Sometimes whenever you are doing these types of meditations, these meditations are outside under the stars at night. So you usually get there, it's already nightfall. And so if you don't know someone, then meet them at night is just kind of tough, you know. If I think this is it's probably happened, but if we have had a, CE-5 meditation where it was, at night, whenever, it has started, you know, I may not recognize someone at Walmart. I'm not sure if I don't know why I would ever be inside of Walmart. I mean, we know what's going on vibrationally there. But maybe over at, Sprouts, some place that I would be. But yeah, it's so anyways, it was just cool to be able to sit down with everyone beforehand. We had a really nice little, meal beforehand, and I think that that has a lot to do with this experience and how profound that it was, that we made this connection beforehand. So whenever, we can make this connection beforehand, it's always good to do. But yeah, after that we just kind of went over there to the ranch, and kind of got into meditation. It was about me and 8 other people, so 9 people altogether. And we just kind of went through the meditational protocols and stuff. There is a, more or less a structure whenever it comes to how to engage in a CE-5 session, essentially. And just kind of going through those. And after we got done with our meditation, it was kind of funny because, at that point you're just so filled with this high vibratory energy, and everyone is kind of, buzzing on this higher state of mind, essentially. And so a lot of conversations after we get done meditating are really going to be very connecting to the heart, really connecting to the soul, and connecting on a higher level than anything really, worldly, essentially. And so we were all just kind of talking stuff like that on a real high level, vibratory level. And one of the members of the group, he kind of looks up at something, and he sees something.
But we'll
And
actually segue into the experience in just a minute.
okay, great,
There's,
great.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, just a few more
yeah, let me know if
questions.
I'm going too far with it.
Yeah, no, no, no. You're good. Once we get into, like, the what side of things, it's, go wild.
Okay, yeah. Feel
So right now
free
we're
to,
gonna setting the scene, and so this happened at night,
yeah, yeah. So this happened at night,
and then
rather, cloudy night, not
how long did the,
necessarily a lot of
sorry,
stars.
yeah, go ahead.
Mhm. Well, what was your prompt?
How long did the, experience last? Like, the
Uh,
actual sight?
yeah, totally. I would say that this sighting that we had lasted for about I'd say it lasted for about 4 seconds. I saw it for about 4 seconds, but, I'd say that was about 2 seconds just kind of looking over and, like, noticing it as well. So, I mean, maybe 6 seconds altogether.
Okay. And the time feel, normal or distorted in any way?
Honestly, time felt normal. It didn't necessarily feel distorted at that point, but there was a certain level of energy that was kind of felt both within the, circle, the group that we had, but also back and forth from, this, sighting that we had from this anomalous object that we had saw that night as well. So there was definitely a communication happening.
Right. And then this is a question that I ask everyone for the sake of classification purposes. Were you under the influence of any psychedelics, drugs, or alcohol?
No, that is strictly one of our things that we have with this group, is that, there is no drugs or alcohol, any intoxicants of any kind allowed with these types of outings and gatherings. One of the biggest reasons is because not only are we meditators out there reaching out in universal, love, but we're also researchers as well. And so having the cooperation of of you know, of clear-minded people,
Your own mental
uh,
faculties.
yes, definitely adds to our case and definitely adds to the realness of the phenomenon that we are experiencing. So no, definitely not.
Okay, and moving into where you said you were in, what was the town called in, New Mexico?
It's called Carrizozo, New
Okay,
Mexico. It's
that's,
just
like,
south.
further south than Albuquerque?
Yeah, just south of Albuquerque. Albuquerque's kind of in the middle of New Mexico. They're going to be looking about further south. It's going to be more towards Roswell, actually, for all you Roswell people out there. It's going to be closer to Roswell than it is to, Albuquerque. So, and White Sands as well. White Sands, kind of adjacent type of area.
And then, you were segueing into, describing the weather a little bit, so, yeah, give us a good idea of, like, what the weather was like and the lighting.
Yeah, yeah. So the weather was definitely a very important factor to keep in mind. Reason being is because whenever you go out on these types of, expeditions, you really want to be able to have a really clear sky. The best time to go out is whenever it's a new moon and there's no clouds and everything is just perfect. And there's no wind. Wind is a huge factor in New Mexico. But no, basically, but you get what you get, and it is as it is, and as it is as it should be. And so understanding the harmony with the conditions, one of the practices. I mean, we are meditating outside under the stars, and we do this frequently throughout the year, at least once or twice per month. And so you're never gonna be able to have conditions that you want every single time. So this particular time, we're out there, and it was rather cloudy, and it was also like, I don't know, it was also like an 80% moon too. So it was pretty beaming. The moon was pretty bright out there, and you know what that does? It kind of wash out the sky of stars. And then it was also pretty cloudy as well. And that definitely is a really big factor that kind of goes into more of the identifying and the ability to understand what you're actually seeing, because whenever you go out there, stuff like that, you have to kind of make sure that you are testing certain uh, perceptions. Essentially, you're testing certain, views and kind of ways of seeing things. And so the cloudiness of it really was an important benchmarker, essentially, that we're seeing something very anomalous. So
Okay, and would you say partly cloudy? Because you said the moon was a factor as well, or was it, like, mostly overcast?
yeah, yeah, you know what? The moon would be kind of in and out. It does get rather windy here in New Mexico. We have a lot of different, like, jet streams, essentially. I'd say on the ground it was just kind of more breezy, but in the sky, I mean, the clouds were moving at a pretty good clip in the sky. So, they were definitely, like, billowing, but there was, like, areas in which, so, yeah, partly cloudy, because there was areas in which, the
Okay.
clouds would be opening up, essentially, but, I mean, definitely not a just super open sky, that night, for sure.
And then how dark would you say it was?
I'd say, I mean, it was about, I wanna say it was around 9 9:30 at night, maybe a little bit later, like 9:45, something in that area whenever we saw this. Um, I mean, I would say pretty dark. And then also the other thing too is that we're on a ranch in a very, very, very small, it's hard to even call this a town, very small community, essentially, out there in Carrizozo. So as far as the light pollution, very, very low light pollution as well. So visibility whenever it came to anything at night was very slim,
Okay,
if I
so
could say
quite
that.
dark.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
assuming y'all
Definitely.
probably aren't using much in the way of flashlights
No,
given the
definitely not.
meditation.
Yeah, no fires, no flashlights, only to, get up and go to the bathroom or whatever, just so you don't trip and fall. But as far as it goes, there is other times whenever we do use different, lasers, pointers, or um flashlights whenever it comes to certain flashing of different, I want to say codes, but type of like
Signals.
flashing signals, yeah, like signals and things like that, but not for anything out other than that. Just, they're all just for a certain purpose.
And then, what time of year was it?
It was September, so it was like early fall-ish, just getting into fall essentially.
And was the sighting post-meditation or during the meditation?
It was post meditation, yeah. A little bit after, whenever we were kind of talking and on that high vibratory conversation, which meditation definitely leads you right into.
And that sounds like the perfect segue to lay out the experience for us. What did you see? What happened?
Yeah, so, essentially, as I was kind of saying, we're all, meditating, things like that. We get done and we're all talking and on the high vibratory area. And maybe about, I don't know, maybe about 8 to 10 minutes after we've gotten done with the meditation, one of the members in our group, I don't know if we can curse on here, but he
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
like, "Oh," he's like, "Holy shoots." He said something else, but "Holy shoot, what is that in the sky?"
I cursed too much already, so it's perfectly fine.
Okay, he's like
Everybody defend yourself.
he's like, "Holy shit, what the fuck is that?" And we're all like, "Huh?" We're all like, rubberneck looking up there. And basically, yeah, so we all see it. So what it was there was an orb that was a from from my perception and point of view, because that's also another factor that we can get into, is basically it was a white and purple-ish violet orb that was traversing across the sky, and it was basically coming at us. So above, coming from, um I'd say it was coming from the west due east and coming our way, right? And basically it had came almost to our group, and then it had made a slight left right angle turn and then just dematerialized, just blipped out. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It just made it a little bit and was like boop. And you know, other than that being absolutely, amazing, not all, not necessarily the goal of CE-5 meditation and contact, of course. Um,
Cherry on top.
but yeah, but definitely, yes, definitely something special, right? And definitely a certain byproduct of the the contact modality that we're doing with CE-5, to be a signal, a confirmation, really, that hey, we got the message and we're just letting you know any way that we can. As this, Earth is a pretty hostile place whenever it comes to outside of our planet, visitors that are not necessarily sanctioned, essentially, to come into our airspace, space, whatever it is. And so, we always say, hey, if it's safe for you to, show yourself to us, then great, do that in any way that you can. But if not, no worries. We're still here, reaching out. First thing is, okay, I saw something. What's the validity of what I seen, right? A lot of people go out, CE-5. A lot of like newer people will kind of go out and they'll like kind of say, "Oh my God, I see this, I see that. I see, this happening and that happening in the sky." And a lot of times what's going on is that their eyes and the amount of just staring into the sky can really play kind of tricks on you. You don't know
especially when
if
the
a
clouds
star
are
is
moving.
Yeah, yes. You don't know if a star is moving. You don't know if it's jumping around. You don't know if it's swirling around. You don't know, and the thing about it is that the stars are moving, we are moving. We are moving. The stars are staying still. So that's even another factor of learning how to, and then being on top of checking the quality of that sighting of that experience. One big, huge marker of this is that it was cloudy. Now, at first we were like, oh, this sucks. It's cloudy. But this actually really gave us the leg up whenever it came to what we saw and if we could actually validate it. This orb was traveling underneath of the clouds. So we were able to see it the entire
Or like
time.
below the clouds.
Yes, low altitude. Yeah, and below the actual clouds too. So it was low altitude traveling, not within the clouds, not like peeking out, coming back, going back in the clouds, whatever. This was a solid orb that was traversing beneath the clouds, underneath the clouds at a low altitude. And at this point with the clouds where they were, you were not even seeing aircraft. Aircraft was either in the clouds or above them at this point. You weren't even seeing, I mean, you could just hear them in the distance, but you weren't even seeing any air traffic at all at that point. There's also no airports even remotely close to where we were, so they would not be traveling at any low altitudes at all. And to be
Not
able to
many
whatever.
airliners, doing 90-degree turns either.
Well, I didn't get to that part yet. Oh, well, I guess I did say that. But, yeah, and, and you're obviously, we are well aware of aviation lights, those types of things whenever we go out. And, also with our, flight trackers. We have flight trackers, we have satellite tracker, whenever we go out there, we have, a star map essentially whenever we go out there as well, just to make sure that this is an authentic thing that we're actually seeing. Because again, we're researchers here. We're not looking for a carrot to dangle here. We're looking to prove ourselves wrong as well. And
Mhm.
whenever it's without the shadow of a doubt, then we have a palpable you know, list of information here, of actual data here, that we can, kind of stand on. And so that was really interesting. And that was a huge confirmation and indicator that what we were all seeing was the real thing. Not to mention the connection and the feeling that we had all kind of reported after, seeing it as well. Just this wave of just, connection and love and, gratitude really for acknowledging, you know, for acknowledging that, that they are there. Hey, man. Hey, you're there. I'm here too. Cool. Like, awesome. Like, respect for, that eye to eye, kinship right there. Kinship, cosmic kinship right there is really what was felt. And so that was really cool. That's another really big indicator too.
Right. And can you describe the light a little bit more? You said it was like white, purple, like white with like a slight purple hue, or was it fluctuating between colors? Or
Yeah, so what I had seen, yeah, it was, yeah, definitely. It was kind of a white light with a purple violet-ish hue going to it. This hue was more so on, I want to say, the front of it, excuse me, and on the back of it, it was kind of more white, kind of on like the underside. But it was just blended. I mean, it was just blended. It wasn't like, some kind of decal on a car or nothing like that. Like it was very
Extraterrestrial decal.
for sure. Yeah, you have some it just has like you know, has
Let's
Andromeda
put some
on it, like,
energy. Let's put a little energy here.
yeah, 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 but yeah, no, it was just self-luminous coming from the inside of this orb and illuminating in that way. And that was just really incredible to see.
And then what were you experiencing, like, internally as you saw this? Like, what's going through your head?
Yeah, I mean, what was going through my head specifically was the first thing is you're just kind of blown away, you know. And one of the main things that we try to harp on in CE-5, because again, this is not a CE1. For the viewers that don't really know the categories, CE1 is whenever you see a random object in the sky, random UFO, you're walking your dog, you're just, driving your car or stuff like that, you look up and you just see it, that's CE1. CE2 is whenever there is essentially like remnants of something that kind of happened. So crop circles, sometimes burned trees people have seen, or, other types of remnants. Yeah, 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 other types of like remnants and things like that. CE3 is whenever you actually see an extraterrestrial biological entity, an actual, individual, essentially. And then CE4 is an abduction experience, however that may be, maybe physically, or even, through consciousness itself, essentially, as well. Um, but CE5 is different because we are actually, it's human initiated, so we're actually initiating contact with these interstellar individuals, essentially. So because of that, we need to be ready. Be ready for this. I mean, we're not being, you know, we're not. No one's coming up and coming from the back and scaring us or anything like that. Like, we're going out into the field at night, getting into meditation, and we're opening up our hearts and our minds for this experience, for this type of frequency work. And so one of the main things, if you see a craft, what do? Stay calm and try to connect. Those two things. Stay calm, number one,
So
and
so
try
that's
to
what
connect.
was going on internally. You were just trying to, like, so you said you
Yeah.
were blown away. Were you trying to, like, reel yourself in?
Yeah, yeah. So I was definitely trying to, reel myself in. And number one, stay calm, right? And after that, you know what? I feel like the sighting was just real quick in terms of like switching your mind to connecting with a sighting that quick is pretty tough. We've had other, sightings whenever it's like, hey, this thing is just up there and it's just kind of moving very slowly and it's been up there for the last 10 minutes, you know, I've been connecting the whole time, stuff like that. And so those are a little bit easier to swallow in terms of like, cool, I know what's going on. But one like this, very, very quick, clicking right into that connection through telepathic means is a little bit tougher. So, not really. I was just you know, kind of, surprised that it was there. And then after that, just kind of had that feeling of love, connection, friendship, and just kind of, you know, um, of gratitude, essentially, kind of going through me the whole time. And that was kind of the experience inside. After that, after it had, dematerialized, then I did get into a state of wanting, to connect, and, maybe even seeing if if it had the chance to come back. I did, through telepathic means, send out a message, if it was safe for that individual and for us too, if this individual came back in a certain way. And, that was, obviously definitely heard, but maybe the requests couldn't be, fulfilled. And so, yeah, it was kind of an after, and then after that, just, so much gratitude. Hey, you know what? Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you. Thanks for your visit. And, thanks for letting us know that you heard us. I mean, it isn't anything different than, seeing a friend of yours at the grocery store, or seeing a friend of yours came by your house or something. Hey man, thanks for coming by. Really appreciate you coming by, man. I'm sure I'll talk to you later. Great. That's what they're
Felt like a
looking for. They're not.
cosmic hello.
Right, they're not. That's the vibration. I mean, they're looking for us to be mature individuals who are learning of our cosmic neighbors and cosmic family, but are understanding that these are individuals in vehicles, and it's not anything to be overly, praiseworthy about, stuff like that. These are not gods. These are
And you
not,
shouldn't drop and
anything
kneel.
that we need to be, you know, bowing to, or anything like this. And if we do start doing that, guess what they're gonna do? They're not gonna show up. They're gonna bounce, man. They're not gonna show up. That's not what they want. They don't wanna domineer. They want this.
You don't want aliens stopping by who are gonna stick around for that treatment because they do not have the right.
Exactly. And if you do, then So yeah, you're always gonna wanna come at them with a level head, just an open heart, and just, a feeling of gratitude. Like, hey man, thanks so much for stopping by. I hope to see you again, for sure, you know?
I will be right back. I gotta pee real quick.
Okay, quick commercial break. 10-1, as we say in the film.
All right.
Yeah,
And so
man.
you said there were 9 other people who witnessed this with you? Or
Yeah,
9 including you?
yes. Yeah, yeah. And so I can kind of let me talk about them.
Yeah, yeah, we can go over a little bit, maybe, like, what they said they saw, because you said there was, like, something interesting there, and then if all of them saw it or if only some.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and other cool thing is too, for anyone who would like to check it out as well, we did do a kind of recap video, like we did for our experience. Me and CJ had. And so there's a recap of, little Zoom video that is online, if anyone wanted to get more into the granular, details of what people were kind of saying. Put something in the description if you'd like. Essentially, yeah, the the most amazing thing about being in a group and experiencing something is that we experience something at the same time and the same moment. For right now, I think that's all that we can really fathom. That's all that we can really handle as a civilization right now. Because whenever it comes to what each individual saw, it's not very different, but it does have some differences going from person to person. It's almost like, you know, you and 8 other people had the same exact dream, but it was perceptively, it was different to each person. The message was the same. Maybe even the words might have been the same as well, but they were from different people. They were from people from your life. I had maybe people from my life, essentially, who was carrying the same message. And it was kind of like that. We had the same dream, but it looked very different to everyone, you know, in a certain sense. So that's the first thing to know about it. I kind of shared what I had seen. There was another person there who had seen more of a tail on like behind it. I didn't see any tail. I saw just a self-luminous orb, traversing underneath of the clouds, and it didn't have a tail. This person said that she did see a tail. Uh, and there was another person who had claimed that that it was like a streak, that it was like kind of like if you got a sword and you just like, did a swoosh into the sky, that it was more like that. It was more just like a static swoosh in the sky. Others kind of, claim that, they didn't really get a nice look at it. Like they couldn't really see like the color of it, like it wasn't as vivid maybe, as maybe as I had seen it, or maybe someone else had seen it and stuff like that. So it was just kind of different whenever it came to that. Now, what I can say is that we all had that sense of gratitude that I was talking about. We all had a really great, joyous, and a really connective frequency of love that was felt by everyone. Nobody felt that there was any malevolency going on. No one felt, was, scared or fearful about anything happening. Um, it was just an incredible wave of subtle vibration that we were all kind of experiencing. And that too, that's another kind of indicator. We all saw something at the same time, number one. And then we all were kind of feeling like the same thing in our own right about, this, particular object. So that was definitely something that was extremely palpable, whenever we were out there, was just the feeling that we all had afterwards.
Do you know if they saw, like, the same color as well, or
Others said that it was more of a blue. I think another person said that it was all blue and like not white at all. The guy who saw just the swoosh in the sky said that it was like a white swoosh in the sky, kind of like a Nike. Kind of came up, did that right angle turn at the little Nike symbol. Maybe not that fat, but kind of similar. And as I said, kind of a purplish white going on there too. So colors kind of changed as well. The appearance of this phenomenon definitely was being read by multiple minds, very, differently in terms of the color. And also obviously in terms of the imprint that it kind of had on the sky, what it was doing up there too. So that was interesting too.
how do you mean there?
Just whenever it comes to like I just saw an orb.
Okay,
That was the image that I saw. Someone else saw the swoosh, someone else, saw more of a tail, things
physical
like that.
manifestation of
Kind
it
of varied.
differed.
Yeah, it just kind of varied, yeah.
And then as far as your experience of it goes, do you feel like we missed, any details or any details that you would like to explore further?
Not necessarily, um, maybe just like the not necessarily whenever it comes to that. I'd say like the next morning we had um set up a couple of side games essentially. I had like the PK dome out there and like stuff like that, and it just kind of seemed like, yeah, it just kind of seemed like we were just like kind of more in tune like the next day after, maybe seeing that. And maybe just kind of seeing stuff like that allows the subconscious mind to open up a little bit more and for these abilities, these intuitive abilities to kind of flow through. And it happened, but yeah, not necessarily on the actual night. We continued the night and we had another meditation, a little bit after kind of following that. Usually whenever we do the expeditions at like overnight, we usually have about 3 meditations and sessions with breaks in between. And that last meditation is usually like just a couple of people because everyone's kind of, gone back to their tent or, wherever we're staying. And that one can go on until, 3 or 4 in the morning. So
Yeah, and those New
yeah.
Mexico nights can get pretty cold.
For real. Yeah, yeah. They can. They can.
They're not for the weak.
Definitely gotta catch it at the right time.
And then, all right, if that's all for the experience, we'll move into telling people a little bit about yourself, especially where it relates to this experience, but also just in general.
Yeah, man. So, yeah. So I'm, hey, my name is Joe. I'm yeah, it's, I was, basically my family is from the East Coast, but I was raised here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I grew up, the thing about me too is that, I didn't really grow up with a lot of experiences as a child. I'm sure that you had many people on here, you yourself included, CJ, that had, experiences, at a younger age. Um, I if I believe that I did not, and if I did, then I wasn't aware enough to be able to bring it up later on in life and actually talk about it and actually kind of unravel it. So not anything too too overt, I guess, to be able to say anything about that. So I kind of got into the phenomenon area a little bit later. And how I, got into that, I was a skateboarder for my whole life, sponsored on a crew and stuff like that and everything. And so that kind of like consumed my life and everything there. Still kind of does, honestly. But essentially, I came into some injury, and kind of had to pivot with some life goals. Got into video editing. We were kind of doing that a lot whenever it came to like videos and things like that, and then kind of found myself in motion pictures. So continued on and got a career in the movies. Being a studio technician, and then producing my own stuff, and then getting on producing other films and things of this nature, going to school for it, being able to get a degree in post editing, directing, and producing, and then I also learned writing, learned to write screenplays. So essentially, through that progression, that it was all kind of setting me up to be open. It was like the what's the guy that catches? I mean, he's just the catcher in baseball.
Umpire?
Not the umpire. The umpire is the one who, like, calls the makes the calls and stuff. He's just like yeah, yeah, behind the batter, just the catcher. For everyone who plays sports, sorry, I was a skateboarder my whole life, and I got into filmmaking, so sorry. But,
Yes,
yeah, the catcher,
I have no interest in sport.
obviously. I'm sure a lot of people who are gonna be watching this don't really have a lot of interest in sports. However, if you do, great,
And they're
feel
probably
the
shaking their
vibration.
heads at us like,
Feel the vibration, feel the frequency. You can totally meditate while you're, playing a game and get into that alpha brainwave state. But essentially, so run it. But essentially, it was kind of like all this was like kind of making me ready for this catch that I was going to make. And the universe was, was going to pitch me something for sure. And essentially, whenever I started writing a lot of short films, things like that, and just being inspired to kind of write. And so whatever I thought was interesting, I was like, hey, maybe that would make a great film. So it's like the end of 2000s. I'm just kind of not doing much. I'm just like, cleaning, I don't know, the house or on the computer or whatever, just not literally not doing anything. And just had a certain download at that time. And it was kind of like this download was basically like extraterrestrials can be enlightened beings. And I was like, I didn't know really where to go with that. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I had gotten into a little bit of meditation, but not a whole bunch at that time. So I was like, I didn't really know where to place it. So I just placed it in my notebook, and I was like, maybe it'll make a good movie. A monk that's an alien, right? There's something like that or whatever. Some kind of I was writing a lot of comedies at that point, so I was like, maybe it'd be fun and kind of funny or whatever. So I just kind of wrote it down, and whenever you're open like that, the universe is going to pitch another ball. It's going to lob another one in there. Oh, it looks like he's catching him. Let's lob this one. And so I'm over at one of my friends' house, and he's kind of talking to me. He's like, hey, you ever heard of this guy, Dr. Stephen Greer? I was like, yeah, who's that? He's like, oh yeah, it's this guy. He's just so articulate about, um, you know, things that defy, Newtonian physics, and ET life, and also advanced technologies and things of this nature. And I was like, oh, okay, put it on, I guess. We put it on. I was like, wow, man, like this guy is really kind of more or less articulating in more of detail and vocabulary that I did not have, what this download was about. How I knew that, it was just kind of a instinctual type of vibrational understanding, that harmonizing, that it was about that essentially. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna like look into him, because maybe it'd make a cool like script or something. I don't know. We'll see what's up. And that was the hook, because I kept on that was the only reason that I continued to dive into any of this type of like information, is because maybe I would be able to have something interesting in the form of a screenplay. And so I keep on, getting into it. I'm like, oh yeah, this and that. The more you get into something, the more you know. The more you know, the more you grow. And I was doing exactly that. And I was like, wow, you know what? This is, number one, real. It's going on. It's been going on for a very long time. And understanding where I might be able to be of service to the universe was something that I was, you know, apt to do. And actually, for a very long time, I always had, the homies staying at my apartment. I was always, wanting to kind of be there for like others and stuff like that. I wasn't really focusing on it at those times. I was just having fun and just being me. But this kind of came full circle, and I actually got interested in consciousness itself, as opposed to material types of gains, whenever it comes to maybe like the law of attraction and other things that maybe had heard about, getting into business and things like this. I was actually just interested and excited about learning about consciousness itself, and that was the very first time that I kind of got into that. So long story short, that was kind of the build up there. Long story short, me and my friend went to a Dr. Greer conference, a lecture, in Arizona. This is 2018. And yeah, got to meet Greer, stuff like that. And, obviously, that has a huge impact on you. And kind of got back, and I was like, hey, is there any, because if anyone doesn't know, Dr. Greer is kind of the person who has developed these CE-5 modalities. He did not contact modalities. He did not, he wasn't the one who actually like invented it. He's not the inventor of this, no one invented this, okay? Uh, it's been going on for eons and eons between those
Interfacing with the
people.
universe.
Right. He just kind of came through and um developed it into more of a modern way of you know practicing essentially. So, he's been doing it for a very, very long time. And he's has teams all around the world. So I get back to Albuquerque and I'm like, hey, where's our team? Like, who can I connect with? Like, where can I get involved? Like, I really want to get involved in, this initiative. I'm just being called to get involved in a really heavy way and stuff like this. And, I had, kind of gone out once, had my own kind of experience and stuff like that. That was, pretty amazing as well. Um, just myself. And there was nothing going on. If anyone knows, the capital of New Mexico is Santa Fe. It's pretty close to Albuquerque. There was a group in Santa Fe that was on like Facebook at the time, but they weren't very active. I mean, there was nothing going on with them, stuff like that. And so I kind of took it upon myself to start the group and, found something here in Albuquerque that uh, we would be able to, kind of grow with the call that, it's kind of happening here, like in this area. Who the group might have been, where they were going to come from, who how anything was going to work was way beyond me at that point. I had no idea of anything. Granted, I wasn't coming from a community that was very open to any of this at all either. It was just me and my longtime friend who were. It was just me and him. So we just kind of started it, and it was just me and him going out for like many months. It was just me and him going out and, going to the foothills and meditating and stuff like that and everything. And little by little, continue to grow. Um, met CJ over
I
the
come,
CE. Huh?
I said, and that's where I come in.
That's where CJ comes in. Met CJ on the CE-5 app. So there was an app. Well, there still is an app, but there was an older version that was kind of a little more antiquated. I kind of liked it a little bit more. Whatever. I'm not going to get into it. There's an app, okay, and there's a little networking type of feature on there where you can basically sign up and, people in your area essentially, and you can, message them, stuff like that. Doesn't a lot of people complain that doesn't really work at all in terms of like connecting with people. And I will say that I really haven't connected with that many people on there just for whatever reason. I don't know.
I can't
But
say I've been messaged by too many people outside of yourself.
right, exactly.
I've
But
sent rounds of emails as well, like you did, to try and get
totally. Yeah,
groups
yeah,
going,
like so
but it's hard
many.
to get round up that
Yeah,
many
and
people.
I don't know, like, maybe it's, like, kinda like the notification on it is kind of a weird area of notification. A lot of people are not really seeing it in time. Maybe they forgot that they even downloaded that app. I mean, that kinda happens too. They're, like, so interested, like, "Oh my god, like, the CE-5 app, like, I'm so stoked." They download it, and then they, like, kinda, like, don't get follow through on that, and so it's just like this app is just that, and they even forgot. So maybe like stuff like that can kind of happen. But I was kind of all like also getting like at that because this is crazy to say, but this is almost 10 years ago, dude. Almost 10 years ago, right? It's about 8 years ago or so. And a lot has changed. I mean, that was pre-COVID. Just that in itself is just, mind-boggling. But essentially the arena, and I know that a lot of your, listeners here might have picked this up, is that, it's a lot more public now. I mean, it's in Congress. I mean, it's out that people are calling for full disclosure now. I mean, sitting former presidents and sitting presidents are talking about this,
We
right?
we
And
had to
so
have our tinfoil caps on back then.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, if back then it was kind of like, well, I don't know if I want to expose myself. I don't know if I want to reach out on this app right here and kind of like be maybe a part of that or kind of expose myself to any maybe danger that might happen and stuff like that. And so there were those kind of like fears that were going through, definitely through like my mind too. I mean, I was new to it as well, stuff like that. And so, but people that I did meet, some of the best humans that this planet has to offer, man. Number one, CJ, right here.
Thank you, thank you.
You are definitely in the batch of incredible Earth and ambassadors to the stars, man, for sure. Also, I met another guy named Nate on there. You remember?
I've actually never met Nate in person.
Okay, okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
He's still around. He kind of started this other kind of like initiative with Greer and everything too, and stuff like that. It's been kind of
nice.
cool. I think I can talk about that at some point. But and also Mikey, met Mikey on there too and everything as well and stuff like that. So just some really great individuals, man, who are really focused in on this mission and stuff like that. And so through the years after that, we've been kind of continuing to build and build. And, I still work in the film industry right now, producing my own stuff and also, working, in the union as a studio technician for Netflix on bigger movies. But, this continues to grow. It continues to grow. And it was pretty cool, actually. We had like a merger kind of happen not too long ago. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you've kind of kept up here and there with CE-5 Albuquerque on the Facebook page or whatnot, or on Instagram here and there. But we've had like we went from but me, you, and one other person, or whatever, three people, four people to, and now we're in 21, 22, 23 people out at the CE5s. On average, we have about 13 people, something like that, on average now. Which is pretty cool, and that kinda came from this merger. We kinda merged with with this group, ABQ UFOs group, and, they kind of, like, ramped up pretty quickly by a really amazing woman who's a, like, world-class, like, remote viewer and stuff like that, knows a lot of people in that field, and, we met her. I don't know if you remember, Daphne as well. Um
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
yeah, within so she kind of runs the group with me. But, yeah, we just kinda merged with that group and stuff, and then, like, kind of after that happened, it was, like, kind of exploded a bit, and stuff like that, and so, um, very grateful for sticking to it, man. Definitely a lot of times whenever you're like, no one's here," you know? No one's here for this one. No one cares. Should I still care and stuff like that? I did, I was sometimes I went out and it was just me. And that was beautiful because it's not about who's there, you know? It's about continuing to influence the global collective consciousness to rise. I mean, putting those chips in, making sure that you are filling that whatever it is, that container of love to where it can start to, exceed the brim of it and, overflow and really kind of be able to have a certain effect, a really big effect, a great effect on our civilization. And, I'll I'll be out there each month by myself if I have to, because, that's the mission, that's the goal, that's the initiative. That's what I signed up for. I didn't sign up for really anyone being out there with me, essentially. That's all just bonus there, you know what I mean? I signed up to serve, this, civilization and the civilizations of, the interstellar communities. And so it's really great that I'm able to still do that and to have help and to have some support. That's always great to have.
I mean, and most of my best sightings have happened with me meditating solo, putting
Totally.
out that intention. Sometimes it's easier to get like full coherency that way too.
Right. You
But
know.
here is we'll probably go ahead and wrap up the YouTube part of this and move into the Patreon discussion. So
Okay.
thank you for sharing your experience.